I was fearful of being singled out or embarrassed, or that I was going to do something wrong. It was a great deal of social anxiety going on as a child, and anxiety itself, the level of anxiety was just toxic. After I had children, I started having flashbacks, and I went to see a psychiatrist for the first time, and he diagnosed me with major depression.
I grew up in, by high school, I started developing a serious depression. My mom was schizophrenic, so I think I isolated myself for a while from like the outside world, besides maybe one or two friends who I really wasn't close with anymore. By the time I was in junior high, I was very isolated. As I grew older, my depression grew heavier and heavier. And I went to college, and by my third year in my junior year in college, at the end of that, I started hearing voices, and that was a very bizarre experience.
I made some bad decisions concerning my family life and my children, and you know, like risky decisions that indirectly affected them, but led me to lose custody of my children. So then I sought help. I was real outgoing, when a lot of people with bipolar disorder are, and I was voted friendliest in my class in middle school. And then I really changed. I had a real expression of my personality, so that was kind of different because I stood out. And I said to my dad, he was fixing my car one day, so I was a teenager, and I said, "Dad, am I weird?" And he said, "No, you're just different." And that sticks out in my head a lot. So, and my mom had a mental disorder; she was bipolar also. So
I acted as if I were the perfect teacher. I acted as if I was the perfect mother. I just, with effort, again, constantly going through the day, pushing myself, and it finally just fell apart. I just couldn't do it anymore, and I had a major breakdown, and they put me in a hospital in New Orleans that specialized in trauma therapy.
Slowly I started realizing, you know, I was getting scared that I could hear something in the wind, and I started hearing words and voices, and I was like very scared because I didn't want them to read my mind. I just tried to prevent it, and somehow I knew that they were reading my mind because they were responding to my thoughts. In the beginning, I just remembered they were just screaming at me. But eventually they started calling me a dog, you know, like bad dog, bad dog. Every time I thought something of, I think when I think I could free myself, they would start calling me a dog, and I mean, to be honest, afterwards I started believing I was a dog because they said it so much. But I mean, it was very humiliating and degrading and frightening. I didn't know who it was. Eventually I thought it was the devil.
If everything was just perfect, the world was a perfect place, it don't matter, you're still depressed. You can't see any light at the end of the tunnel. Nobody cares, nobody loves you, you know, your self-esteem is down, you can't eat, or you eat a lot, you can't get out of bed, you don't shower. I mean, it's, you know, you don't go to work. It affects everybody, and it affects both of the highs and the lows, affects society, because, you know, you get in trouble, the taxpayer pays for your jail, you know, your hospitalization, and then when you're depressed, I mean, you know, it costs people money to not go to, when you don't go to work. I mean, it's exhausting because, you know, a week ago you were high, you know, as a kite, you know, on life, and then it's, you know, you disgust yourself, you know, I mean, and everything is just gross, and I mean, it's depressing, it's down, like the word depress, you know, and it's terrible, it's a terrible feeling.
A nurse in one of the groups, you know, said, "Well, you know, what is your diagnosis?" And I said, "Major depression." And she said, "Well, what is your prognosis?" And I said, "Well, I guess I'm going to have it for the rest of my life, you know." And she said, "Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry you feel that way." And it was like, what? You know, what do you mean? And, you know, she's like, "Well, you can get better. You can, you know, recover and have a good, full life." And I was like, you're telling me something that nobody else has told me. So what do I have to do? And basically what it was a lot of hard work on my part. I believe that people with mental illness have to make a decision that they want to get better. And if they make that decision and are willing to put forth the work involved in doing it, that it is possible to have a life that is full.
I have a lot to go through before, you know, I'm totally free, but I do feel I have a bad image, self-image, and I have a lot of struggles going on. So if I just say, oh, this is the way I am, and I'm going to do my best to achieve a goal, and I achieve it, I'm not going to say, well, I was sick, I couldn't do it. You know, that's just not what I want.
You know, I just keep moving forward and hoping that to educate people and to you know, bring my children around to understand that keeps me going. And I like being held accountable for things, like so you know, I know I have to show up, you know, and do what I'm supposed to do. You know, we function in society just like everybody else. We were talking earlier that 1 in 4 people have a mental illness. Well, think about somebody at work, sitting at work right now. You look around, you know, somebody's sick.